Hello and welcome back to Lateral. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 jobs that you're able to get in a pandemic. I know it's been a financially challenging time for a lot of people. A lot of people have lost their job or they've been furloughed and they may just be looking for either an extra source of income or just the main source of income because it's been a very hard time. I would like to say from personal advice, obviously with all of these jobs, perhaps don't consider doing them if you don't actually need the extra source of income, because at the end of the day we're still in a pandemic and it is still a very high risk time to catch the virus, and the virus is just very much out there. But yeah, obviously it's up to you. That's just me personally. For reference, I forgot to mention that all these jobs that I'm going to mention today is because I've spoken to people that do them jobs, so I've been able to find out like their actual experience and, you know, give you guys the true details of it based on that one experience. So obviously it might vary on person to person basis. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first job is a study worker, and basically how this job came about is it actually came about as a result of the pandemic. So the government reached out to all different households asking if they want to help participate in a study for Oxford University. And basically the requirements of this job is that you have a car and you go to people's house, or you schedule with them on the app like a date and a time you can go to their house. And this is all the people that opted to participate in the study. You go to their house with your equipment, so like the equipment to take the coronavirus test, and you go to their house, you give it to them, you make sure that you're at least 2 meters away whilst they do the test, and then they put their stuff, their samples, whatever, back in the bag, and you put that bag in your boot. And it's just that on repeat, going to different houses and doing that, and then dropping that back to the depot. This job does require that you have a car because you need to drive to different people's house, and obviously there are sort of health and safety risks if you don't like take the correct like procedures. So making sure that you're keeping your 2 meters distance, you've got your gloves on, your mask on, because there's a chance that these people might actually have the virus, even though you're just collecting samples. Some of them might actually have the virus, and then obviously you have to put it in your car. So you want to be making sure that you're making sure everything's extra clean and stuff like that. But again, you are at risk with anything any essential work or any work outside of the house. This job pays around £12 to £17 an hour and is 0 contract, so you can kind of choose how many days you want to work. It can vary depending on your schedule. So if you're looking for something a bit flexible, then this might be for you. So the advantage of that job is that it's not stressful at all. It's really good money. Anything £12 an hour is quite good. And obviously you've got the flexibility because it is a 0-hour contract. And then also they do pay for your petrol. So driving to people's houses isn't coming out of your own money. However, with everything, there are disadvantages. The main disadvantage might be that if you're not handling all the samples and whatever carefully, then you obviously are putting yourself at risk of catching the virus. And then you must have data on your phone, because obviously you find out you work out everything, how everything's going on via the app. So if you're someone that doesn't have much data on your phone, then this might not be suited to you. And then finally, another disadvantage is that they can sort of drop you at any time. So if you're looking for more job security, this might not be as fitting for you. But if you just want something like on the side, then maybe it's more appropriate to yourself. But yeah, if like the areas run out of houses that want to participate, then they may no longer need you to fulfill that role. The second job that I have is an Amazon associate, which is like a Amazon warehouse worker. So when you're ordering your Prime deliveries or whatever, it's the people in the warehouse who's working tirelessly to put them all together and get them out to you in time. That's the job that I'm referring to here. This pays around £10.80 an hour, and the hourly rate depends on the time of your shift. So obviously there's like morning shifts and evening shifts, so it varies depending on that. So basically this role there's sort of different roles within the warehouse, and you can it could be like sorting out parcels and that sort of thing. So just warehouse work. So the advantages that I've been informed of is that you're not constantly being micromanaged. So once you've got your task and you're just doing your task, you just get on with it. And a lot of people don't really want managers sort of checking up on them all the time. And if you like that sort of independence, then this may be appropriate for you. Also, you do get weekly pay, which a lot of people do prefer. Obviously being able to see your paycheck come in a lot more frequent than other jobs which might be monthly. And then also it's a very good job to be able to socialize, and the person I was speaking to was saying about how you literally have every single age, every background you can think of is there, which you may not think of, but if you just want the opportunity to socialize and maybe even build connections, you could find them there, because you know different people can be of different value, and it's just good to make friends. However, the disadvantages is that it is a very tiring job. So if you are like, it's a very physically demanding job, and they do really work you. So they are sort of monitoring your progress, like the amount of items that you've not shifted, but you know what I mean. And if you are underperforming, they are going to ask you in that case, like, what's going on. So you're not being micromanaged on a whole, but you do have like sort of quotas to meet. And advice the person gave is that it's not really ideal for if you're a student, because like obviously you need to be focused on your work, and this is very taxing, demanding of your time, and it's kind of, or unless you have very good time management, they said they wouldn't really recommend it for students. And because of how like tiresome it can be, it might be after like 9-hour shifts, you just want to go home and maybe socialize, but you're kind of already too tired. So by the time you finish your shift, all you have the energy for is to sleep. And then by the time you sleep, it kind of feels like you're going back to work the next day. So these are all things to consider. If you feel like you're up for that challenge, it could be a challenge. Or if you just feel like you're suited to that, then perhaps look into going for Amazon associate role. The next role I have is a delivery driver. So as you can tell, a lot of people are getting things delivered to their house, whether it means they're sort of just leisure shopping or they're supermarket shopping, and the delivery driver roles out there for everyone. It's not the most strenuous application process. Some don't actually ask for CVs. You just go onto like online to like maybe Indeed jobs, and you can look for delivery drivers jobs in my area. Obviously, you're going to need a driving license for this. So if you don't have a driving license, then this won't be the role for you. Brief overview of what the job entails is what happens is you go to pick up your van and the parcels in the morning, and then you start out on your journey to deliver them to people's houses. You get on average about 120 to 130 stops per day. Stops just means addresses. You get 9 hours to do your shift, but most people do it in around 7 hours, which means you can have that time back. You can also choose when you want to take your break. So this will usually just be like parking up the van and eating your lunch if you brought it with you, or you can go out and get whatever you want to eat. You can pick whenever you want to have your break. And this job does pay around £100 per day. So this could be quite good for someone who's maybe not looking for so much, like something so hard to do. It is quite a good paying like daily rate. The advantages is that you are getting paid very well for what you do. In accordance to the person who I spoke to, it is not really a hard job in terms of like dropping off parcels, and you also get the opportunity to listen to your own music if that's something that's appealing to you. Obviously, you can literally play whatever you want on the radio. If you do complete all of your stops, you can finish work early, so you have sort of got that freedom aspect. However, the disadvantage is that a lot of the jobs, like when you're delivering parcels, you have to have it on your phone, and the person who I spoke to actually smashed their phone on the job, which that has nothing to do with the company that they was working for, but they just dropped it. So obviously you kind of have that risk, but other jobs do provide you with a device that has all the addresses on it, so it sort of cancels that one out. Also, it can get quite exhausting. Even like closing the van door shut by the end of the day can really be quite exhausting, because it's quite repetitive. You go, you open the door, you take out the parcels, drop it off and shut the door, and that can sort of come draining over time. So that's another sort of physical effect that it might have. But yeah, overall I'd say this is quite a good job, but it can get lonely at the times as well, because obviously you're in a van driving for 7 hours a day, and even those who like driving might not want to do it for 7 hours a day. But if you do need the money, then perhaps this could be something useful for you. The next job I have is at a coronavirus lateral flow center. That is so hard to say. So basically, this is where if you've ever been tested for the virus, you go to a center and you do the test. So there's like 3 different roles. They've got like the receptionist type of role where they sort of check you in, take your details, that sort of thing. A test operator speaks to the member of the public that comes in and explains how to do the test and records the test. And then a floater takes them to go and get the test and cleans the base to make sure that everything's nice and safe and clean. This is another job that gets weekly pay and pays around £13 an hour, £13.60 I think it was, something upwards of that. So yeah, again, you've got the advantage of having the weekly pay, and it's quite easy to get the job. A lot of people have got it through word of mouth, and it's not really a hard application process, and you read up modules and you have to do a little test about how to do it to ensure like health and safety standards and whatnot. The advantages is that it's a very chilled and relaxed environment, so everyone just gets on and does what they have to do. And although it might be busy at times, there are sort of slower periods where you can just relax a bit more. And then the disadvantage is that, again, like the first job I mentioned as a study worker, if you don't handle things correctly, then you are at risk of getting the virus. But this is with any job that requires a contact with a member of the public. You're putting yourself at risk if you don't sort of do things carefully. And then the fifth and final job is a supermarket customer assistant or customer service worker. So I'm thinking Morris, Sainsbury's, Tesco, that sort of thing, where obviously when you go to the supermarket, the people that are helping you, serving you at the tills, that are stacking the shelves, maybe working at the petrol station, that sort of thing. This role pays from around I'd say around £9 an hour upwards to maybe 11. I don't know exact, but around 9 to maybe 11, £12 an hour, let's just say. The advantage of this one may be for people that are looking for a bit more like sort of fulfillment advantages. So the person that I was speaking to was saying it's actually nice being able to play such a role in other people's life, because what you might take for granted if you like live with other people is that other people during this pandemic haven't had anyone to speak to. So when they go out to the supermarket, that's the first person that they're spoken to for maybe for the day or maybe even the week. So you play like a lot of value in their life, and if you get fulfillment from helping people out and making people feel good, then maybe this is a job for you. Also, you do build like nice relationships. The person I spoke to also said that it's important to build relationships with different members, like different colleagues, to fully understand the full functions of the workplace and that sort of thing. And then disadvantage wise is that you can get a lot of disrespect from the public, and this is with any sort of customer facing role. It's dealing with different people that are often, you know, not happy. You don't know what's led them to this point in their day, but a lot of people sort of project that onto you. And as a customer service, you do kind of have to like suck it up, you know, and you do have to keep smiling and just stay professional. So that can be a disadvantage if you don't feel like you're fit for dealing with members of the public that might be rude. Then maybe this might not be for you, or maybe this might be for you because you want to work on your tolerance, or I don't know. But you know, you've got to take that into you might want to take that into consideration. And then it can get repetitive because it might be the same sort of mundane task, whether it's just stacking shelves and doing that again and again. That can get quite boring and quite repetitive. And then, you know, you just might not like it in that way. And yeah, that's 5 jobs that you can get in a pandemic. Again, I'd like to reiterate, if you don't need a job, then do consider before applying to these jobs. You know, you are putting yourself at risk of a very dangerous virus. So think about that before applying to it. But if you do need a job, there are jobs out there, and this might have just been the sign that you needed to apply. And if you are applying for jobs that you're not so successful, just keep trying. It might just be a case of timing. And yeah, so yeah, good luck with your job search. Please share this with anyone who you know is looking for a job, and please like it as well and subscribe. That is such a weird order to say this in, but yeah, all of that jazz. Please do subscribe and leave a like, it does go a long way. Thank you for watching. See ya.